I still remember the night when everything started falling apart, though at that time I didn't realize what I was setting in motion. My name is Rachel, and I've been married to Ethan for 8 years. We were good together. Not perfect, not passionate like we used to be in our 20s, but comfortable, the kind of comfort you build after years of routines, inside jokes, and quiet mornings. But lately, that comfort had started feeling like distance. Ethan wasn't unkind or cruel, but he'd stopped noticing the small things. He'd come home from work, kiss my forehead absently, and then sink into his phone or his laptop. Our conversations became predictable. How was your day? Fine. What do you want for dinner? Whatever's easiest. It wasn't that I stopped loving him. I just missed feeling loved. And instead of talking to him about it like a sane adult, I made the worst mistake of my life. It started during one of our wine nights. My two closest friends, Lisa and Monica, had both been through divorces recently. They were bitter, though they hid it behind jokes. Lisa's husband had cheated on her with a coworker, and Monica's second marriage had collapsed over money and trust. That night, I told them I felt invisible in my own marriage, that Ethan didn't seem to care anymore. Lisa rolled her eyes and said, "You need to remind him what he could lose, Ratch. Men only pay attention when they're scared of losing control." Monica nodded, swirling her glass.
Yeah.
Test him. Make him jealous. Make him fight for you again. I laughed at first. It sounded ridiculous. But as the night went on and the wine kept flowing, their words started sinking in. Lisa told me about how her ex suddenly wanted her back when he thought she was dating someone new. "It's the only thing that wakes them up," she said. By the time I drove home, I wasn't thinking straight. I was tired of being ignored, tired of feeling like Ethan didn't care. So I told myself it would just be a tiny push, a harmless game to get his attention back. The first thing I did was start dressing up more for work. Ethan noticed. He looked surprised the first morning I wore perfume and straightened my hair. "Big meeting today?" he asked casually. "Something like that," I said with a smile. That little flicker of curiosity in his eyes made me feel powerful. I hadn't seen that look in months. Then I began staying late at work. In reality, I'd sit in a cafe for an extra hour before coming home. I told Lisa and Monica about it, and they encouraged me to go further. Lisa even said, "You should drop a few hints about a coworker. Make it believable." So I invented Jake, a guy who worked in the marketing department. He was real. I'd seen him around the office, but we'd never actually spoken. Still, I used his name in passing whenever I wanted to see Ethan's reaction. "Jake helped me with a new project," I'd say casually. "He's funny. It kind of reminds me of your brother." At first, Ethan just nodded. But then, slowly, I started seeing the cracks. The tension. The uncertainty in his voice when he'd ask, "So, you and Jake work closely, huh?" I'd shrug and change the subject, pretending not to notice the unease in his eyes. Lisa told me that was a good sign. "He's thinking about you again," she said. "Mission working." But what I didn't see, or didn't want to see, was that Ethan's smile was fading a little more every day. Then came the night that changed everything. I told Ethan I was going out with my sister, but instead I went to Lisa's place. We drank wine, laughed about how stupidly serious our plan was becoming, and even joked about how long we could stretch it out before revealing the truth. When I came home around midnight, Ethan was sitting on the couch, eyes red and tired.
He didn't yell.
He didn't accuse. He just asked, "Did you have fun?" His voice cracked a little, and I hated how guilty it made me feel. I lied again. "Yeah, it was nice catching up with her." He nodded slowly. "Your sister must have switched perfumes." I froze. I hadn't realized Lisa's husband's cologne had rubbed off on my jacket. I brushed it off and went straight to the shower. My heart was pounding the whole time. That night, Ethan barely slept. I could hear him tossing beside me, and instead of comforting him, I lay awake thinking, "It's working." God, I hate myself for that now. Over the next few weeks, the distance between us became a canyon. He started looking through his phone in another room, his appetite disappeared, and his smile was gone. The man who used to make me coffee every morning now barely said a word at breakfast. One night he tried to talk. Rachel, is there something going on I should know about? No, I said too quickly. You've been different. Working late, texting a lot. I just... Ethan, please don't start this again, I snapped. I'm not cheating on you. That shut him up. He looked so defeated when he walked away, and a part of me wanted to tell him the truth right then, to laugh and say it was just a stupid prank, that I only wanted him to notice me again. But I didn't, because Lisa and Monica told me to hold the line. They said, he's almost there. Soon he'll realize how much you mean to him. Instead, what I didn't realize was that he was starting to look up divorce lawyers. The revelation came crashing down on me in the most humiliating way imaginable. One Tuesday night, my phone rang. It was Lisa, completely drunk. She was laughing hysterically, saying things like, "You were right, Rach, this plan's genius. Ethan must be losing his mind right now." I laughed nervously and told her to lower her voice. Ethan was in the other room. But before I could hang up, I heard footsteps. Ethan stood in the doorway, pale, eyes cold. "What plan?" he asked quietly. Lisa's voice on speaker carried through the room like a bullet. "Your husband's paying attention again, huh? See? The fake affair trick works every time." The silence after that felt like a funeral. I ended the call immediately, but it was too late. Ethan just stared at me. "A fake affair?" he said, barely above a whisper. "Ethan, please, it's not what you think." "Then what is it, Rachel? A joke? A social experiment? What the hell did you think this was?" I tried to explain how it was meant to make him see me again, how I only wanted to feel loved, how my friends convinced me it was harmless. But the more I spoke, the worse it sounded. He didn't yell. He didn't curse. He just said, "You broke something I can't fix." He packed a few bags that night and left. I sat on the kitchen floor crying until sunrise, still hoping he'd come back once he cooled off. He didn't. That was the night I realized my marriage wasn't just in trouble. It was over. And the worst part? I destroyed it myself, not with an affair, but with a lie that felt just as poisonous. I told myself I'd explain, that he'd understand once he calmed down. But deep down I knew no apology could undo what I'd made him feel. Because I hadn't just lied to him. I'd watched him crumble, on purpose. And that's something no sorry can ever fix. When Ethan walked out that night, I told myself he'd come back. I sat by the window until dawn, waiting for the sound of his car, staring at my phone every few minutes, hoping for a text, anything. But nothing came. By morning, the house felt hollow. His toothbrush was gone, his shoes missing from the door rack, his pillow cold. It was the first time in 8 years that I woke up without him beside me. I tried calling him, but he didn't answer. I sent a few texts. "Please come home. We can talk." "I'm so sorry," but they stayed unread. That day, I didn't go to work. I couldn't face anyone. I just sat on the couch replaying everything that had happened. The look on his face when Lisa said fake affair trick kept haunting me. It wasn't anger that scared me, it was the heartbreak. The quiet kind of pain that changes how someone looks at you forever. By evening, I finally told Lisa and Monica what had happened. Lisa cursed under her breath. "Oh my God, Rach, did he hear me? I was drunk. I didn't mean." "Yeah," I said flatly. "He heard everything. He left." Monica, ever the self-proclaimed realist, sighed and said, "Okay, calm down. He'll cool off." Men always overreact first and then think rationally. Rationally? I snapped. "You think what we did was rational?" Lisa tried to justify it. "It wasn't that bad. You didn't actually cheat." But even hearing those words made me sick. I realized then that they didn't see Ethan as a person who'd been hurt. They saw him as some experiment, a test subject in our stupid game. And I had treated him the same way. I told them both to leave me alone. Monica rolled her eyes and muttered, "Suit yourself, but don't come crying when you're single and bored." That was the last time I spoke to her. The next few days were agony. Ethan didn't call. He didn't text. Then, on the 4th day, I got a message from his brother. "He's staying with me. He's okay, but he needs space. Don't contact him for a while." That one line shattered me. I knew then that this wasn't just a fight. He was gone. I tried writing him a letter. I poured everything out. How sorry I was, how stupid I'd been, how much I missed him. I even drove to his brother's house to drop it off, but when I saw his car in the driveway, I froze. I couldn't bring myself to knock. I sat there for 20 minutes, then drove away sobbing. 2 weeks passed before I heard from him again. But it wasn't him. It was a call from my mother-in-law. "Rachel, I've just spoken to Ethan," she said carefully. "He told me everything." My throat tightened. Everything. About this prank nonsense. "What were you thinking, dear?" "I wasn't," I said honestly. "I thought I was fixing something." She sighed, long and tired. "You broke something instead. I don't know if you can ever fix that." That was when I realized she wasn't angry. She was disappointed. And somehow that hurt even more. She told me Ethan was considering divorce. I begged her to talk him out of it, to tell him I'd change, that I'd go to therapy or counseling, anything. But she just said softly, "He needs to want to try again, Rachel. You can't force trust." A week later, I got the confirmation I'd been dreading. An envelope came in the mail, petition for divorce. I stared at the papers for what felt like hours. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely hold them. It wasn't a fight anymore. It was over. When I finally mustered the courage to call him, he didn't answer. I left a voicemail, crying, begging him to reconsider. I said things like, "You're the love of my life, Ethan. Please don't throw this away over one mistake." But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't one mistake. It was 6 weeks of lies. 6 weeks of making the man I loved believe I was betraying him. The loneliness after that was unbearable. Every part of the house reminded me of him. His laugh in the kitchen, the dent in his pillow, the way he used to hum while making coffee. I stopped sleeping in our bed. I'd curl up on the couch instead, sometimes clutching his hoodie just to smell him again. Pathetic, I know. And guilt was like a constant shadow. It followed me everywhere. At work, people noticed I was quieter. My boss even asked if Ethan and I were okay. I lied and said he was away visiting family. I started avoiding everyone, coworkers, friends, even family. The only ones who still called were Lisa and Monica, but every time I saw their names on my screen, I felt sick. One night, out of sheer desperation, I went to see Ethan's parents. His mother hugged me, though I could tell she didn't really know what to say. His father was less forgiving. "You humiliated our son," he said flatly. "He trusted you. You broke that trust for a game." "I know," I whispered. "I'd do anything to take it back." "Then leave him alone. Let him heal." That hurt, but I knew he was right. So I tried to respect Ethan's silence. I stopped calling. I didn't send more messages. But every night, I'd still check my phone, hoping he'd say something. After a few weeks, I couldn't handle the not knowing anymore. So I did something stupid again. I went to his office. I didn't go inside. I just sat in my car, hoping to see him. And after an hour, he came out. He looked thinner, his face pale but calmer than before. He didn't notice me, but even just seeing him made me break down. That night, I texted him again. "I saw you today. You look tired. Please, Ethan, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want to talk once. Please." No reply. The next morning, I got a message from an unknown number. "Rachel, this is Ethan's lawyer. All communication should go through me from now on." That was the lowest moment of my life. Lisa came over a few days later, trying to cheer me up. She said, "Maybe if he sees how sorry you are, he'll come around. Men always come back eventually." I turned on her. "You think this is a joke, don't you? You don't get it, Lisa. I destroyed him." She frowned, defensive. "You're not the only one who messed up. We all gave advice." "Yeah, and I listened." My voice cracked. "But it wasn't your marriage to lose." She didn't say anything after that. When she left, I blocked her number. A few weeks later, I got an email from Ethan. It was short, formal, almost cold. "Rachel, I filed the papers. Please check your email for details from my lawyer." There was no anger, No affection, just distance. That single message hurt more than all his silence combined. I spent that night rereading old messages between us, little things like grocery lists and dumb jokes. It felt like going through someone else's life. For days after, I tried to distract myself. I threw myself into work, started jogging again, even deleted social media for a while. But the emptiness stayed. Then one afternoon, my phone rang. It was Ethan's sister, Megan. "Rachel, can we talk?" she asked softly. "About what?" "About him. And about you." We met at a small cafe near her office. She looked at me, with this mix of sadness and pity. "He's not doing great," she said. "He's angry but also hurt. He keeps saying he doesn't even know who you are anymore." Tears stung my eyes. I wish I could tell him I'm still me, that I never meant to hurt him. "Then why did you do it?" she asked quietly. And that was the question I couldn't answer. Because the truth was I didn't know. I thought it was harmless. I thought I was fixing something broken. But the real reason? I was selfish. I wanted to be chased, to feel wanted again. And I traded trust for attention. Megan told me Ethan didn't want contact. She said he was seeing a counselor, trying to unpack everything. Hearing that broke me again, but at least it meant he was healing, even if I wasn't part of it. After that meeting, I knew the marriage was over. Still, I couldn't stop hoping for some miracle, some late-night message saying, "Let's talk." But instead, weeks later, I received the notice that the divorce hearing was scheduled. The moment I saw that date, everything hit me. The finality, the emptiness, the loss. I thought losing him would feel like anger or punishment, but it didn't. It felt like drowning quietly in guilt. For a long time, I blamed Lisa and Monica. Then I blamed Ethan for not forgiving me. But the truth is, it was me. I let other people tell me how to love my husband. I turned insecurity into manipulation. And now, every morning I wake up alone in that same house, haunted by the echo of a man who once loved me enough to believe I'd never lie to him. He was wrong. And that's something I'll regret for the rest of my life. It's strange how quiet a house can become when love leaves it. It's been 8 months since Ethan filed for divorce. The papers are signed now, finalized, stamped, and sitting in a drawer I can't bring myself to open. Sometimes I take them out just to look at the signature at the bottom. His handwriting used to make me smile when he'd leave notes on the fridge. Now, it feels like the final nail sealing our story shut. People keep telling me time heals everything. But that's not true. Time doesn't heal guilt. It just teaches you how to live with it. The morning of the final hearing, I stood in front of the mirror for an hour, trying to recognize myself. My reflection looked older, drained. My hair had lost its shine. My eyes had that tired, hollow look I used to see in Monica's face after her divorce. The look I once pitied. Now I was living it. When I walked into the courtroom, Ethan was already there, sitting beside his lawyer. He looked calm, too calm, like someone who'd already made peace with everything. He didn't look at me. Not once. I wanted to run up to him, to tell him how sorry I still was, how I'd spent every single day wishing I could undo what I'd done. But I didn't. Because I knew I didn't deserve that chance anymore. Our lawyers handled everything. Property division, lease termination, bank accounts. It was all mechanical, emotionless, just numbers and signatures. And when it was done, the judge simply said, "Divorce granted." That was it. 8 years of marriage, erased in 5 minutes. Ethan stood up first. For a second, I thought he might look at me, maybe nod or smile politely. But he didn't. He walked out, and I stayed seated, staring at the empty chair beside me until the clerk told me to leave. After that day, I thought the sadness would fade. Instead, it settled deeper, like a stone sinking into water. I tried to move on, I really did. I joined a book club, started going to therapy, even reconnected with my parents, who'd been quietly worried about me for months. My therapist asked me once, "What did you expect to happen when you started the prank?" I didn't have an answer. I said something weak like, "I wanted him to notice me again." She nodded gently. "So, instead of asking for love, you tested it." That hit me harder than I expected. because that's exactly what I did. I tested Ethan's love, and in doing so, I proved that I didn't deserve it. Lisa tried to reach out again after the divorce. She showed up at my door one Saturday, holding a bottle of wine and wearing an apologetic smile. "I just wanted to see how you were," she said. I stared at her for a long time before answering. "You know what's funny?" I said quietly. "You told me to do it. You told me to make him jealous. And now you get to go home to your quiet apartment while I live with this forever." She tried to apologize, said she never thought it would go that far. But the truth is, it went as far as I let it. She didn't force me. She just whispered the idea into my ear, and I turned it into destruction. I closed the door before she could say another word. That was the last time I saw her. 3 months after the divorce, I heard through mutual friends that Ethan had moved to a new part of the city. He got promoted at work, started going to the gym regularly again. Apparently, he even started dating someone, a woman named Claire who worked in his department. When I first heard that, I thought it would crush me. But surprisingly, it didn't. Instead, there was a strange peace in knowing he was okay. He deserved someone who could love him without breaking him first. Someone who didn't need games or tests or advice from bitter friends to feel loved. It still hurt, though, not because I wanted him back, but because I'd thrown away something good. One night, I found an old video on my phone, our anniversary dinner from 3 years ago. We were at this tiny Italian place we both loved. Ethan was laughing, trying to feed me dessert, and I remember rolling my eyes at the camera and saying, "You're ridiculous." He grinned and said, "Yeah, but you love me anyway." And I did. God, I really did. Watching that video broke something inside me. Because back then, he was still the same person. It was me who changed. Somewhere along the way, I let resentment and insecurity take over love. I stopped talking and started assuming. I stopped appreciating what I had and started testing it instead. It's a terrible realization that the biggest mistake of your life wasn't a single bad choice, but a slow series of moments where you could have chosen honesty and didn't. Therapy helped me see that my problem wasn't Ethan's lack of attention. It was my inability to communicate. I wanted validation, not connection. I wanted drama instead of conversation. I remember my therapist saying, "You can't fix a relationship by breaking trust. Once it's gone, the love might still exist, but it becomes unrecognizable." And that's exactly what happened. I didn't lose Ethan overnight. I lost him the day I decided manipulation was easier than vulnerability. Sometimes I still see his family. His sister Megan messages me occasionally. She told me recently that Ethan and Claire are moving in together. I wish them well. She said Ethan appreciated that. It felt like closure. Quiet, bittersweet closure. I don't blame him for not forgiving me. I wouldn't have forgiven me either. There's one moment I keep replaying in my head. The night Ethan found out. That look in his eyes, shock, disbelief, betrayal, it's burned into me. If I could go back to that night, I'd throw my phone away, delete every text, and just sit down with him and say, "I feel lonely. I miss you. I need us." That's all I had to do. Not lies. Not fake perfume. Not late-night stories. Just honesty. But I didn't. And now, honesty feels like a language I forgot too late. A few weeks ago, I started journaling. My therapist said it might help me let go. One of the entries reads, "Love doesn't die when someone stops noticing you. It dies when you start testing them to prove it still exists." That's what I did. And every time I write that sentence, it feels a little heavier, but also a little truer. Last Sunday, I saw Ethan for the first time since the divorce. I was at the grocery store, standing in the coffee aisle, when I heard someone say my name. I turned around, and there he was. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he smiled, small, polite, but genuine. "Hey," he said. "Hi," I managed to whisper.
He looked happy.
Lighter. The kind of happy that comes from peace. We talked briefly, small talk, safe topics. He told me he was doing well, that work was good. I told him I was taking a writing class. And then, before leaving, he said, "I hope you're okay, Rachel." "I really do." I nodded. "I'm trying." He smiled one last time and walked away. I stood there, holding my basket, trying not to cry in the middle of the aisle. That brief conversation meant more to me than any apology I could have given. It was his way of saying goodbye, without bitterness. That night, I came home and deleted his number. Not out of anger, out of acceptance. I realized I'd spent months holding onto the ghost of who we used to be, hoping maybe guilt could rewrite the past. But it can't. The only thing guilt can do is remind you not to make the same mistake again. And that's what I carry with me now, the lesson I learned too late. If I could speak to anyone who's ever felt unseen in their relationship, I'd tell them this. Don't play games. Don't create tests. Don't listen to people who think manipulation equals passion. Love isn't a test. It's a choice you keep making, even when it's hard. I stopped choosing honesty. And that's how I lost the only person who ever chose me without needing proof. Now, the nights are quieter. The guilt is softer. And sometimes, when I walk past the old photo frames still hanging on my hallway wall, I don't cry anymore. I just smile sadly and whisper, "I'm sorry, Ethan. I hope you're happy." Because maybe that's what real love looks like in the end. Wanting someone's peace, even if it no longer includes you.